All right. Let me know where you're watching from and happy Wednesday. How are you guys doing? I am back from my travels and ready to go. Got a notes full of information and I am ready to go. In the infamous words of uh, Wanda, I'm ready to go. All right. Maybe I am. I could think I'm ready, but I'm not really ready. All right. Yes, now I'm recording. All right, let me know in comments where you are watching from and what you are drinking. I feel like I'm a little out of practice. Ben, mute that. Good evening. Good evening, Yolanda. How are you doing today? Saint, let me get this over here so I'm not looking all sideways. I got like too many screens going, and I'm still trying to figure out how to fiddle with this so I'm not looking all sideways. All right, there we go. I can see that. Hey, Teva, I don't know that I've ever seen you. I love your name. Um, Water for now. That is exactly what I am drinking. I think I'm coming down with something, although I'm rejecting that. I am telling my body to reject that concept of coming down with something, but I do feel a little bit run down. I'm like hoping I didn't catch anything in my travels. And so we've got a really good topic today. I actually like came up with this topic a couple of weeks ago and couldn't make it happen before we left, but I am really passionate about what we're going to talk about today. So since we have so much to talk about, I'm going to just sort of jump in. And so before I get started, let me just say welcome to all the newbies that are out there. So Teva, you said that you're new. Super excited to have you here. You were watching, I don't know, I even know where Olympia is. So you're in Washington State. So welcome. Welcome to the party. Um, I missed last week and I think I even missed the week before. So I'm going to end it tonight talking about a little bit of lessons learned from Dubai. It was the first time that I went to Dubai. Took a group, there was 10 of us, including myself, that went, and it was an amazing time. So if you guys want to hang in until the end, I will give you sort of a rundown of how the Dubai fam trip went and how spectacular of a time we all had, and just super excited about that. All right, so in my normal fashion, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So if you guys are new to me and you've never joined me, I want your fingers to do the walking, talking, so to speak, for you. I'm going to ask you to reply in comments with the one or a zero, one being yes and zero being no. And if you just don't know, then put a zero, because what I always like to do is get a feel for who's out there, what your situation is relative to the topic that we're going to talk about. So right now, first question I want you to type in the comments is how many of you out there have average ticket sales price between 2,000 and 5,000? And what that means is that somebody says that I want to go to fill in the blank, and the gross sales is between $2,000 and $5,000. Type a one if that is what you are selling. Type a zero if that's not your average ticket price. You're selling something less than that. Now, if you're selling something greater than that, you can type a one. But let me know in the comments. Type a one if you are selling between 2 and 5 or greater, greater than $2,000. I guess I could just make that simple, greater than $2,000, or a zero if your average ticket price is less than $2,000 for what you sell. All right, so we're getting some ones. So we do have some people who are on average selling, greater than $2,000. That's great. I am seeing some zeros, so that means that your average ticket price is less than 2,000. All right. Now, of what you sell, Now this is a math conversation what we're going to have, so bear with me. Your suppliers that you work with, how many of you all are making greater than 18% or 20%? So I'll just keep it at 18% in commission. How many of you are making greater than 18% with the suppliers that you work with? Type a 1 if that's you, type a 0 if that is not you. 0. So you're making less than 18% in commissions when with your suppliers. 0, 0, 0. Okay, so the last question is, how many of you all have business expenses recurring? You have host agency fees, you have software, you have insurance, you have operational expenses. Type a 1 if you have operational expenses. Type a 0 if you are able to run your business at a, less than $100 a month. Okay, so yes, lots of 1s. People have operational expenses, right? Because unfortunately, we can't run a business for free, right? We've got people got their hands out. And the sad part is people got their hands out, and because the fact that you're a business, the same service is more expensive because you have a business than if you were like just doing this, normal. So just by virtue of you saying, I have a business and I'm a business person, the dollar goes up. And so I ask you all of these questions. I'm going to dive into why I ask you these questions in just a minute. But for those who are new to this community, new to our trainings, let me take a minute and introduce myself. My name is Sunday Gardner. I am I guess I'm the host of the Online Travel Boss community. I am the lead trainer at Online Travel Boss School. And I come to you weekly talking all things launching and operating a successful and profitable travel business. And in tonight's episode, we are going to talk about why profit matters more than your commission. So when you come out of the sort of travel industry womb, so to speak, and you decide to launch your travel business, everything that you hear from your host agency, from other agents, from suppliers is commission. No one is ever really having a conversation about profit. And so I wanted to really bring this to light. Everybody knows what profit is, or maybe you don't know. Maybe, math's not your thing, accounting's not your thing. I got a degree in accounting, so numbers are my thing. But I want to make sure that we are continuously having a conversation about profit. Because really at the end of the day, ladies, because most of the people I think on today are ladies, but if we do have some gents that watch this in the replay, I don't want to not acknowledge you. What you have to realize is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your top number is if your bottom number sucks. And that's your profit, right? So you're either operating in the red, or you're breaking even, or you're operating in the green. And our goal is to not only operate in the green, but operate in the green at 30% or greater. Like, I want to see you all operating your travel businesses, doing your travel deals where you are netting 30% or greater in profit. And there's absolutely a way to do that. But the trick to it is you've got to think about it now. Like, you got to think about it before your first trip. You got to think about it every single time you plan and you design a trip. Profit does not happen on accident. You plan for it. If you want to consistently make a certain amount of money in your business, you can't let all the chips fly or land where they may and not have planned to be 30%, 40%, 25%, heck, even 10% profitable. You need to plan for that. And it starts now with these types of trainings. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is the difference between profit and commission, why profit is more important, tracking profit is more important, and ways that you can ensure that the deals that you put together are indeed profitable. All right, so who's ready to get started? Let me know in comments. I love when this is interactive. You guys are letting me know that you're out there, you're catching what I'm saying. So I'm going to ask you to respond and sort of connect. So let me know, hearts. I love hearts. So let me know if you guys are cool with this. Like, are you guys okay with this topic? Like, how many of you guys actually really plan for the profit in your business? Type a 1 if that's you, or type a 0 if that's not you. How many of you guys actually plan and budget profit into your business? Let me know. I'm going to drink some water. Got a couple of 1s. So you are planning for profit. So that's good. That's good. All right, perfect. All right, so let me just level set and make sure we're all operating from the same, definitions, and that there's not any confusion as to what I mean by profit versus what your commission is, right? Commission is what your suppliers pay you for recommending and utilizing their properties, services on with your clients. So it's, in my opinion, it really is the sort of bonus for having great relationships and those companies paying you a bonus for utilizing them, right? That's all the commission is. And so if you're with the host agency, you're splitting that bonus. You split that bonus anywhere from 80-20, 90-10, 70-30. Some people do, 70-30 backwards, 60-40, whatever that relationship that you have with your host agency, you are splitting that bonus. You're splitting that commission. Some portion is going to the host agency, some portion is going to you. 9 times out of 10, a lot of the host agencies also have a fee, a monthly fee, to be able to have access to these suppliers, right? So you pay some sort of potentially a setup fee to have joined them, and then potentially a monthly fee, right? There are a few. I think Host Agency Reviews is doing Host Agency Review Week. So they're actually all week long talking about the different opportunities you all have in terms of picking that relationship. If you don't know about Host Agency Reviews, I absolutely recommend you go seek them out, because I think they do a really good job of like comparing all of your choices when it comes to host agencies. But really, your host agency's job is to give you access to suppliers that that will allow you to do business as a travel professional. And so the problem is that bonus usually is in the form of the commission, right? Sometimes they have some perks and incentives depending on the time of the year, like wave season is going on now. So the cruise industry does a lot of, incentives to get us to book with them during the first quarter of every year, right? But the percentages are, you guys said it yourself, right? But the reality is the percentages are usually less than 20% of certain amounts of the bookings. Airlines don't pay commissions. I mean, if you're going through a wholesaler, you may get a few dollars for an airline ticket, but traditionally air no longer gives commission, doesn't certainly give a significant amount of commission, right? So your dollars at the top of your profit calculator, your revenue, the money that's coming into your business, most of you all have set a revenue stream that is holistically dependent on the commissions that you receive. And then when you think about your business, that's the only number that you're really tracking, is that commission amount, right? You're not influencing your top number at all. And so before we start to even get to the bottom calculation, which is the profit number, I'm going to start at the top and then we're going to work our way down to profit, because profit is literally, it's just the net of revenue minus expenses, right? How much you actually bring home after all the bills are paid, and you get to retain that inside of your business, right? And so it's very important when you're looking at your business that you're not just worried about the top number. You don't have any consideration of the middle number, the expenses, and you're not managing the bottom. Oftentimes what happens in businesses is that they are focused on the revenue coming in, and for some of you, you may be only focused on a portion of that revenue. You don't try and influence that. You don't influence the expenses, right? And then you're just stuck with whatever is at the end. And so we want to actually work our way bottom up and make sure that we are planning for what we want to take home, and we structure our deals that way, or we say goodbye, because not every deal is profitable. Not every deal is worth the investment of your time. So you're worried about commission, but if you don't worry about the bottom number, not every deal you should be working. I'm going to give you an example of some deals that you should probably say no to. Post-COVID, if you guys were around and you've been doing this for a couple of years, and post-COVID, the cruise industry last year pretty much gave away cruises. They gave away cruises. And I was in so many conversations with travel agents last year, and they were frustrated as hell about their commission checks. So they were doing the same amount of work it took to get your clients out of town, manage the booking, get them booked, take care of them, make sure all their questions are answered, make sure the communication, the work, just because the trip costs less, the work to manage the trip is not any different, right? So I just want to keep that. But your commission was pretty low, right? So although it seems like a great idea to work deals, and I call them deals because that's what they are, right? So you get a client, they want to go out of town, that's a deal, right? I do deals based on profitability, right? Not every deal that I'm going to do is going to be as profitable as each other, but I do say no to stuff. I do say no, and so should you if you're managing to your numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not doing this for nonprofit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fun what we do, but I'm very serious about the business of my business. Are you guys serious about the business of your business? Like, I'm super serious about the business of my business. And as such, I'm super clear about what makes sense for me to do economically, right? Effort wise, right? All of that. So all of that goes into my decision-making process when it comes to working with clients, doing specific deals versus not, because all business, my grandma and my mom says all money's not good money, right? And just because you're making $1 doesn't mean that it's worth your time to make that dollar. So it's really important that you understand every level of the money as it's coming in, going out, and ultimately that you're planning your business towards the goals that you want. And it's really not just the revenue, it's really the bottom line. So let's talk about, I've got some notes here in terms of what it is that I want to talk about on the top line. So any questions before we go on in terms of profit? So profit is simply revenue minus expenses. That is either going to be in the red, which is called a loss, or it's going to be in the green, which is called profit, or it's going to be like, zero. You didn't win anything, you didn't lose anything, and that's break even. You do not want to be zero, and you definitely don't want to be in the red, right? Many of you are probably operating in the red, and you're not even really tracking it until this time of year, right? Tax season, and you do your taxes, and you're like, man, I made all this money, but I don't have anything in my bank account. I made all this money, or I made okay money, but where did it all go? Or, I'm not making as much money as I'd like to, and I still have nothing in my bank account, right? So it's really important, again, that you're managing all of the numbers, not just some of the numbers. And although revenue is sexy, I'm going to tell you, I actually had to do a revamp last year of what was going out the door, because a lot more was going out the door than was going in the door. We were making great revenue stream, lots of money coming in, but that same amount of money was going out. My money didn't have an opportunity to sit in the account because it was going out, right? So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. So let's talk, before we talk about expenses, let's talk about what's coming in, okay? What's coming in your businesses today, right? Commission is probably your primary, host agency reviews every year does a poll with travel agents to see kind of what their revenue mix is. And, as of last year, I think she does this poll around this time, and I think she releases it in February or March every year, kind of the results of the poll, which is, one, are you all charging agency fees? If so, how much of that is a percentage of your income? And so let's talk about that. How many of you all have revenue streams above and beyond commission? Type of one. How many of you all have revenue streams above and beyond commission? Are you receiving revenue in your business outside of just commission? Are you charging for designing trips? Type of one. Do you have retail? Do you have other services? Do you have consulting services that you do? Do you teach? Do you have a training program? What else do you have? Do you have a fee structure that allows you to, if someone cancels, are you collecting cancellation fees? I just met with somebody the other day, and I interviewed them, and I asked them if they charged fees, and she was like, "Oh no, I don't charge fees because I work in my local community, and I just don't feel like it's good to charge fees." And I say to myself, why would you do that? Like, doctors work in their local communities, a lot of businesses work in their local communities. If you service the community, that shouldn't mean that you shouldn't get paid for the services that you provide. And designing trips in this day and age is absolutely a service, right? And as such, you should be charging accordingly. So what I really want you guys to be thinking about is, in 2023, January is a great time of the year to be thinking about this, is your revenue stream. What's coming into your business? I actually did a training on different income streams. I think I did this training several years ago. If you are following me on YouTube, just search multiple income streams. There's a training on that where I give you some ideas on how to impact your top line, right? What you can do to do the top line. But what I will tell you is that if we just stay in the commission space of your top line, you have the ability to influence that as well. You are in control of which suppliers that you use. So for example, if you are going on let's say you're going on I'm going to pick the cruise because I like the cruise industry's numbers because I know them very well. You're with the host agency, and that host agency is doing pretty significant volume. They're getting 16% because that's just the way that the cruise industry's tiers are. So your host agency is probably at a 16% commission, which means you get 16% on absent, unless of course it's virgin. You get gross exclusive of NSFs. That's how much money you're going to get. So if the cabins, minus NSF, it's $1,000. You're going to get 16% commission of that. If you're on an 80-20 split, that blended is about 10%, right? I've done the math. I got a calculator that does it, right? It's a little over 10% of your take home that you get. So if you don't even know that math, you're really excited about 16%, but you got to remember you split that with your host agency, right? And then if you do charge fees and you run invoices and you don't charge your client the fee, you don't charge back the fee for running credit card processing. Credit card processing is 3.5% plus 30 cents for every transaction. There's no getting around that unless you don't process credit cards. Now, you could do ACH and it could be 1.5%, right? But still, that's another decision that you need to make in your business, right? Are you going to pass on the credit card fee, processing fee to your clients, or are you going to absorb it? If you're absorbing it, how much is it costing you, right? So that's another thing, shipping at your 10% that you get for cruising, right? So, yes, do the Virgin Voyages training. they literally want us to book with them. Like I was at Cruise World at the end of last year in November, and they spoke at that event. And they, I think right before Cruise World, they had announced that they are now including NSFs in their commission calculation. I think Norwegian is doing that now. So that just allows some additional monies to be added to your commission. So, but what I guess I'm trying to tell you is that if you're chasing just commissions and you're not chasing the bottom line, you got things eating away at that commission number, right? So that's the reason why your bottom line is because you're not really accounting for those things that are built into your business that are eating away. Credit card processing fees is one thing that eats away at it. Your host agency fees are another thing that eats away. Your software costs are another thing that eats away at your commission, right? So you've got expenses that eat away at your commission or your bottom line, right? And I want you guys to really be thinking about this. Like, are you like not even paying attention to that? And like you just at the end of the month or year, you're just like, okay, well, this is how much I've got, right? So how you can help solve that problem is there's really three ways you can help solve your top line problem. You can work with vendors and increase the amount of commission or markup that you do per deal. So if you're working with a vendor that pays you 16%, find a vendor that gives you 18% or 20% or 25%. Better yet, find a vendor that does net and you get to decide the markup and the price for the trip, right? And you're not worried about commission at all. And for many of you, that may be scary. Maybe you have contract relationships with your host that prevents you from doing that. But if you don't, I would recommend that you do that, right? That you wholesale, forget the whole commission completely. The more work a supplier does for you, the more it costs you at the end of the day. So, and what I mean by that is if they provide you a wonderful website for you to do the research and they put together the packages for you and they have everything all nice in a bow, you're probably going to get 10%. But if you work with a vendor that maybe they don't have a website for you to key in everything in, and you got to work with them via email, maybe they're a net wholesale vendor that you have to work with, right? But you can set your own prices, right? Every day of the week, I'm working with the net vendor. Every day of the week, I'm working with the wholesale vendor. I don't care how much email, if they've got WhatsApp and I can immediately get in contact with them, I'd rather do that because that work is worth it to me to be able to set my own price. Does that make sense? So I can influence my top line by the suppliers that I work with, right? So that's the number one way that you can influence the top lines is increase the percentage that you get for markup or commission, right? Number two is you can work with more clients. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work with more clients. I want to work with the same amount of clients that I've worked with and either do the other thing. I want to increase my commission or increase my ability to mark up based on my wholesale pricing, right? Because the work is the work, meaning if I'm going to work with the group, I'd rather have high ticket group members, right? Take 10 people out of town than 30 people out of town, right? Getting 30 people, managing 30 people out of town. If I can make the same amount of money with 15 people, I'd rather work with 15 people, right? So, but it is an option. You could get more clients, right? Get more clients to buy into that. That's going to influence the top line, right? So that's your number two way to influence your top end is to work with more clients. Number three way is to increase the average ticket price of the trips that you do. Upsell more, add more services or products to what you standard sell. So for example, I used to be in retail many, many years ago. I used to be in many years ago, I used to work in the food industry. And I remember one of the managers that I worked with many years ago, he was like, coffee is like free to restaurants. Like, because, coffee's like like even at the worst restaurant, it's like $2 or $3 a cup, right? It doesn't cost a restaurant but pennies to serve that cup of coffee, right? But it's $2, usually 2.50, someone. So it's icing. Like another thing that's really cheap for restaurants like McDonald's. I've read a study a couple of years ago about like, you know, when you go to McDonald's, they want you to buy the meal. They want you to buy the soda and the fries, right? Because that is extra, right? That's extra. That's all pure revenue for them. Same thing for you. Our coffee product, our, you know, our French fries and soda, so to speak, that you should be trying to include in your products are insurance, right? Even if it's a site that you give them to send them to insurance, right? You know, I use Agent Max. You know, there's 3 or 4 different insurance companies that you do. You literally can create yourself a link and send that link on every quote that you do, and they can go and get the insurance themselves. That's a gravy thing. It doesn't cost you really anything to do that, right? Just included. So even if they don't get insurance at that time, they always have the link. Have it on your website, right? These are types of things that you should always have. Like when it comes to sort of no-brainer types of things that you can do in your business, increasing value add at the deal level is one of those things. So insurance is sort of a coffee type of thing that you should be offering. Just for a risk perspective, you should be offering insurance on every deal that you do anyway, right? Some percentage of the people are going to do it in this day and age. I think it's ludicrous that anyone doesn't travel with travel insurance. And I frankly don't even want to work with clients that don't have it, right? So that's it. Like if you are a retail person and you like one of the things that was in my training is like having an Amazon store. That's another sort of value. People have got to go when they go out of town, they need chargers. I have my charger right here, right? You need, like everybody needs a carrying and charger because everybody has devices. So having a store where you're recommending those kinds of things, another way for you to be bringing revenue into your business. Upsell, like always have an upsell opportunity, upsell and downsell. So a good example of this is, let's say somebody says, I'm on a cruise and I need a balcony, right? Well, because all the ships have tiers, right? So what's the middle tier and what's the advantage of being at the top tier, right? Give them the middle tier if that's what you do, and then tell them, hey, for X number of dollars more, you can upgrade and this is what you can get, right? So have that path, and it's called an ascension path. Like have that as choices. Now, I'm not a big advocate of giving clients like 50,000 choices because our value add is to make the decision making process quick, right? So I'm not saying you need to like have like a chapter and verse of like all these different choices, because I think that really is overkill. Like my value to my client is I'm going to present a package to you and it's going to be easy for you to make a choice. I don't want to give you 50,000 choices because you could have done that yourself on the internet, right? You got 50,000 choices on the internet. So but my point is increase the value of the total value of your packages. So if you normally sell $2,000 packages, then make yourself a goal this year that you want to start to sell packages that are at $3,000 or even $2,500. That $500,000 difference is going to impact your bottom line, and it's going to impact it pretty positively. So that can be a goal for you in 2023 is increase your average ticket price. So like I said, not only increase your goal, but also give people the opportunity to upgrade their experience by giving them at least 1 or 2 choices in the proposal presentation phase of your trip. Let me know what you guys think about that part, because sometimes that may be a little bit difficult for people to get their arms around is, okay, well, I'm dealing with Vacation Express, I'm dealing with Vax, and they, this is what they gave me, and this is what I tell my clients. Like, you are in control, and you have the ability to really swing that or present that in a way that's going to meet your client's requirements, but also meet your requirements, right? Because your requirements should be to be profitable at the percentage that you want. So I'm not trying to be the cheapest. I'm trying to deliver experiences according to what my clients ask for. So I'm not trying to be the cheapest. I'm not suggesting that I'm gouging people, but my goal is not to be the cheapest. My goal is to meet the requirements, and that should be your goal as well. All right, so that's the top number. That's how you can influence that top number. If you influence the top number positively, then your bottom number is going to be obviously better, as long as your expenses are not out of control. So let's talk a little bit about your expenses. So the number one thing that you can control in your expenses is the number one thing that you can control in your expenses is the cost of the trip. So, and what I mean by that is you have a choice in which vendors you can use. You get to decide that. That's why you're in a position of power with the suppliers, because they want you to pick them, but you have choices. And so you need to exercise those choices. Every single deal that you do, you need to shop it. You don't need to just assume, well, I've been doing business this way, this all the time. You need to shop your deals, particularly when you're doing group deals. Shop the price. So that's one of the biggest expenses that you can control, is how much you actually acquire a travel deal for. So what I mean by that is, if you are going to, and I'm going to use, again, cruise industry, and you're going to do the Western Caribbean, right? The Western Caribbean, barring a few variations, pretty much all the cruise lines do the Western Caribbean very similar. I hate to say that, but there, because I've looked, like, particularly in the Caribbean and Mexico, the itineraries are very similar. Now, they may all have their own special island. You may like one cruise line over another, right? But my point is, still shop it, right? Make sure that you're clear about what are the differences between cruise line, vendor wise, whatever that is, that you've shopped it, and you're getting the best price that you possibly can get. Now, cruise, I think Priscilla put, it's sometimes, not sometimes, oftentimes with cruising, you don't have as much flexibility as you do when it comes to tour operators and land packages. This is why I love land now, because I have a lot more flexibility there. But your biggest expense is to control how much deals cost you to actually deliver the experience, and that you are always networking with vendors, and that you're developing relationships that allow you to maximize your profit through minimizing the cost of travel to your business. Does that make sense? You are in control of that. All right, so that's the number one thing. The other thing that you are in control of is how you operate your business, what tools that you use to operate your business. So you may think to yourself, well, I'm operating lean, I'm not incurring any expenses because I'm doing it all, but that's still coming at a cost, right? I can just give you an example, just personally in my business, right? When I first started in my business, I used to do all my own graphics, because I used to think I was a bit of an artist and that I could get it done. I was like, I have an artistic eye. I can get my own graphics done. I was like, this logo thing doesn't look so bad. I can sling together a post. I can do all this stuff. And so what's happened is, because I'm such a type A personality, is even though I could do it, I shouldn't have been doing it. Let me say that again. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean that you should be doing a thing, because the amount of time it took me to get that thing done cost me time away from meeting with clients, designing, researching, doing the thing that's the core of my business. If I had to outsource something, it would be something that's not my zone of genius. Graphics, although I enjoy it, is not my zone of genius, because once I got a graphic artist, she spits out ideas. She chops it up like this, the same way that I'm able to chop out what my zone of genius is. So even though you may think to yourself, oh, well, I'm not spending any money, I'm going to bootstrap it and I'm going to be super cheap and I'm going to save myself, I'm not going to get Canva Pro. I'm going to just use the free version. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that because it's going to save me money. But I'm going to just use Canva Pro as an example. You not having Canva Pro, the amount of like copy and paste that you have to do to save yourself $12 is insane. Like, don't do it to yourself, right? You have access to more images. You have access to more photos, right? Canva Pro, for that $15 a month, is worth every single penny of it because of the additional functionality that you have and what it saves you in time. So I'm not having to, when I want to resize a picture, let's say I want to do a picture that is a square, because that's these social media sites. Like, you got to like know dimensions for everything, right? You got to do a square for a post. You got to do it long for a Facebook ad. You got to do it, super long if you're doing a story and a reel. The feature set that a piece of software like Canva has to be able to take one idea and convert it into multiple pieces is worth every penny of the $15. If you are a person that's like, I don't need a CRM system, I'm just going to wing it and do it manual because I like the feel of paper, right? Spend the $30. Spend the $30 a month, because the amount of effort it takes to manually keep track of information and data and the risks that you have, it's not worth it. So I'm not saying in order for you to minimize your expenses, you need to cut expenses. You just need to be strategic about the expenses that you have and minimize your cost wherever possible, not eliminate, minimize, right? So for example, let me give you some, I'm like full of examples tonight. So right now I was just talking to someone today. I am a software junkie. Like, I am addicted to software. Like, I had to wean myself off of last year this time. I had to like say goodbye to software that I just wasn't using, but we were spending hundreds, almost, I think near almost a couple of thousands of dollars on software because I am addicted to software. And so this year, I would finally say we have consolidated our stack. So I'm going to just give you an example. So in terms of minimizing, we do email marketing. We have an email marketing. Well, my email marketing tool didn't integrate with my learning platform and some things, didn't integrate with when I run Facebook ads, didn't integrate with, fill in the blanks. So then I had an integration software called Zapier, right? So my stack was like six pieces of software deep, right? Then I have to communicate with my team and and then I have to, write landing pages and sales pages. I mean, to tell you that running a business is easy, the amount of technology solutions that you need to have to make all of it work can be a little bit overwhelming. But I'm a junkie, so I had all this different software. So I'm proud to say, after almost 2.5 years, I have one piece of software that does pretty much my entire marketing stack. I love that. I love that, right? Not only am I able to consolidate the software, I'm also able to consolidate and minimize my price, right? Email marketing charges per number of contacts, right? The software, it's unlimited number of contacts, unlimited number of sales pages, right? So we've been able to cut 66% of our expenses by consolidating stuff in one platform. Same thing for you. Now, you may not be a junkie, but you may be doing things that are inefficiently costing you more time, right, to manage. If you've got to be able to run a report of all the people that are going to Mexico this month, can you do it? Right? Can you figure out all the people that have been to Mexico and send them an email really quick? Or do you have to hunt and peck what their email address is, right? This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So from an operational perspective, having no cost is not necessarily the best thing. just having the right solutions to get your job done as quickly as you can, and as efficiently as you can. It should be your goal when it comes for operations. So again, I'm not saying that you need to eliminate operational costs. You need to minimize them and have the right solutions for what you want to do. Now, after all that's said and done, then you got your top line minus your expenses comes up with your net profit. So what do I do to ensure that I get 30% on every deal? I maximize and minimize both of those all of the time. I'm in a constant like deal mode, right? I'm like, okay, how much is this trip going to cost me? What are all my expenses that are going to be associated with them? What are my direct expenses? What's my overhead, right? And I'm always looking at those numbers. Every deal has a deal sheet. Every deal has financials that I'm looking at. So before I even go and present, so I don't just go to the supplier and, Carnival tells me it's going to be $13,000 for the trip, and then I give my client the $13,000 thing. No, that goes on a deal sheet. I've looked at the expenses. I've looked at what the revenue stream coming in, what the expenses are in, and we at minimum, I am not making anything less than 20% on a deal, right? It's rare that I'm making anything less than 30%. Cruising usually around 25 to 20% is what I'm looking to make on that, right? So we on purpose make profit, right? I'd like to see the same thing for you. Wouldn't you like to see the same thing for yourself? Like, do you guys do deal sheets? Do you guys do financials for every deal, or you don't? Let me know in comments. I would love to get your comments on that. Like, how many of you guys are actually doing deal sheets, financials for every deal that you do when it comes to doing proposals? How do you do that? Funny that you ask. So I actually have a process that we follow to actually put together the comparison sheet. Never heard of a deal sheet. I mean, that's sort of a marketing terms. I mean, I call it our profit calculator. It's a calculator that I've created that takes a look at not only the full calculator takes a look at the cost of the trip, what all is going to go into it. So we put the itinerary and the trip, all the costs, we compare that against at least 3 other vendors so that we've got the best cost. Maybe we go with our preferred vendor, but we've at least costed it out. We come up with the price point, and then we put that into our calculator to make sure from an expense perspective we have everything accounted for, and then we're looking for 30% or greater on the bottom line. So you don't know how. So then, that's something that you're absolutely going to want to do if you want to plan on purpose. If you want to not risk at the end of the year, beginning of next year when you do your taxes, not having net profit, like this month, that should be the goal, is making sure that you're planning for your numbers, that you understand what your numbers are, and that it's not something that's an afterthought. Commission is an important number, but it's not the only number, and it needs to be something that you on purpose understand how it impacts your bottom. Because frankly, ladies and gentlemen, the number that your supplier gives you for commission, that's not your take-home pay. Like, that, right? Like, that's not what you take home after you do the split, after you pay your expenses. It's usually, if you're looking at 10% after all it's said and done, I'm almost guaranteeing you're at 8%, 6% probably take home. That could be a little depressing for some. So it's really super important that you make sure that that's not your story going into that. So now I feel like when you know better, you do better. So now you understand. Let me know if there's any questions before we continue. Any questions? And how do you guys feel about this? Like, how do you feel about knowing these numbers and knowing what your options are? How does this make you feel like about your business and what you want to do with your business in 2023? Some of you guys are saying that you didn't know. You don't know how to do this. You didn't know about these numbers, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We are sort of geared coming out the travel womb, so to speak, is to focus just on the commission, right? How much commission am I getting is the commission. And then when you calculate how much money you're going to make on this, you're looking at your commission. You're not really looking at all the money that has to go out the door. I mean, I remember when I first started in this business, and like I tell many of you, I just recently started passing on the credit card processing fee to clients, whereas I used to absorb that 100% in my business. And I mean, that 3% is a hit. Like that could be a big hit to your business. So if you think about multiple times that you are potentially hit, and that's the reason why I really take the fees that you incur as part of your calculation to heart. Because I'm going to give you an example. We just did Dubai, and there was a bit of a hiccup on the supplier side. So the supplier offered a 5% discount if we wired funds to them. And so we accounted for that 5% savings in our deal sheet. And so when they gave us the final bill, it was not what we expected. We were like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you doing this? And what had happened, and it was a miscommunication on both of our both of our parts, but we were running a very tight margin on this deal. And so, 5% was a huge hit for us. So if you don't know that, and you're just sort of really like, you're not looking at like those types of expenses, you'll look up and you'll not have anything in the bank. You'll be like, well, I thought I was going to get 10% and now I don't have anything, right? Because if you take 10%, you take credit card processing. If you're processing those, if you're not doing supplier invoices and you're processing that, that's a hit. If you, like I said, you've got software, you've got all these expenses, those are hits to your bottom line. So it's really important that you really think about, like, we do gifts for every trip that we do when it's a group trip, right? I don't know what you plan for your group trip, right? I don't know what you plan for your gifts, but we build that into the pricing. So it's sort of self-funding. We, take 2% off of every trip cost. We add that to our trip costs for incidentals, things that may come up that, we don't know. So any unknown expenses, right? So all of those little things potentially add up if you don't account for them, and they can really hurt your business. So this is the reason why I say it does matter. Profit matters. The commission matters, but it doesn't matter as much as the bottom line matters. So, because if you are whittling away at that, whatever you bring in is going right out the door, you're going to be out of business. All right. You're not going to be able to do the types of things that you want, like, leave your investor, right? Retire your investor and do this full time. Have extra income in your business like you want. Be able to pay off your car, pay off large expenses because you've got money coming in. So we want that for you in 2023. Do I give travel things to every client? I primarily do group trips. I actually don't do any private trips anymore. We're just doing our fam trips for travel agents. And so, yes, I give out gifts for all of our fam trips. But when I was doing Fitz, I always tried to include something special, even if it was for them to receive it at the hotel. I didn't do the types of gifts that I do on my group trips, but yes, I always tried to do something special for clients. But again, the cost of that was built in the pricing for the trip. So it was self-funding. So it wasn't like it was coming out of pocket. And certainly that's something that you can build in as well. All right. I'm behind. Yeah. So China, now you know. So fix it. So now you know. And so listen, we are almost at the top of the hour. We're actually at the top of the hour. I started a little bit late. I just want to give you guys, you want to hear how Dubai went and some of the lessons are, you know what, I'm going to save that for next week because I actually have, I took notes. And I'm going to do a whole brain dump with you guys next week on what I learned in Dubai and what I would do differently in Dubai. So how many of you guys are interested in kind of learning how to design trips with profit in mind? Let me know in comments. Type profit if that's something that you're interested in learning about. Always love how I have to how many of you guys are interested in learning about how to actually take your trips, design them for profit, make sure that you are pricing for profit, making sure that you've got everything that you need accounted for so that every deal that you do is profitable, not just commissionable, but profitable, right? How many of you would like to know about the vendors that exist that will allow you to actually book net versus just working with commission vendors? Now, if you're in a certain type of travel genre, your options are not as great, but it's important that you at least understand how to do it so you can make decisions on if you want to do it based on the deals. How many of you guys would be interested in that? Because we just opened up this week. We're actually closing enrollment on Friday. I just opened up Booking for Profits, our program. We haven't had this open. I think we had the last time we had it open was in the summertime. So we haven't had it open in about 6 months now. So I'm opening it up and I'm going to close it again. And so let me talk to you a little bit about what Booking for Profits is Booking for Profits really takes our travel request blueprint framework, and it from A to Z tells you from the time you either decide to do a group trip or you just do a fit trip to the time you actually get a yes from your client to proceed with booking, right? Either booking the group, presenting the group, presenting the fit. It's all of those steps. There's about 6 steps that are a part of our framework. And so Booking for Profits is really about making sure that you price out your trips with profit in mind. Not only do you get quotes from your vendors, but that you develop a price point that makes sense, that's competitive, but also profitable as well. So obviously there's some work that needs to happen into that. And so Booking for Profits is really about teaching you on how to do that at a deal level for every deal that you do. Not only that, what I'm doing for this enrollment is Dubai is probably one of the hottest destinations around town. I'm also going to be throwing in for this enrollment our Dubai specialty training, which is really going to teach you how you can create your own signature Dubai itinerary, which vendors you can use to be able to do that. And not only the vendors, but again, how to price it. Because, unfortunately, I'm in a lot of groups and I am in a lot of vendor groups, and I know that there's a lot of travel agents in those vendor groups, and they're pricing their trips a couple of $100 over cost. And I just say, stop the madness, stop doing that. So inside of Booking for Profits, we teach you how to appropriately price competitively and profitably. And so if you're interested in that, this is how it actually works. Because I don't actually do this as an open enrollment that anybody can enroll. You actually need to meet with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my link here. This is going to be available only tonight, the link to actually do a call with me. Fill this application out. You're going to fill out an application, schedule an appointment with me, and then based on how that conversation goes, we'll talk about kind of what the program involves and where you are in your business and determine if this is a good fit for you. If it is a good fit, you'll get enrolled. If not, I'm going to give you some recommendations on what you do. So go ahead and schedule your call. If you are not scheduled by Friday, you snooze, you lose. So that's pretty much how it works. You don't have to schedule your appointment by Friday. You just need to make sure that you book an appointment no later than Friday, because I will be closing the doors on Friday midnight. Let me know in comments if there are any questions. This link will be available tonight. Else you'll have to reach out to me and we'll have to have a conversation in person. So go ahead and schedule. All you have to do is just click on the link. It'll take you directly to the scheduling link. We've already talked today about it. Fill out the application and then get on the calendar. Any questions about that? Let me just make sure. I'm trying to do. So specific genres, mode of transportation. So cruising is a mode of transportation. land is a mode of transportation. So that's what I'm really referring to as travel genre, is the way that you get people out of town and the type of accommodations that you get. Cruising doesn't have as much flexibility. Now, it does have some flexibility if you work with tour operators that get bulk pricing. You can sometimes get the cabins at a cheaper rate if you're doing group bookings through them. But cruising is the type of travel that you have a little bit less flexibility in terms of costing as you do with some of the land side. All right, any other questions? Listen, for those that have enrolled already inside of Booking for Profits, I'm looking forward to working with you. And for those that I am going to be meeting, looking forward to meeting with you. And for those that are going to schedule, I look forward to meeting with you as well. Listen, next week we'll be talking about Dubai. And what I learned on Dubai. I should have had that ready, but I didn't. I was working on this training. So I'm anxious to share with you all with Dubai. So it was an amazing trip. That's all I can say. I've been telling people that, my first international trip, I was just awed. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is how it is. And I felt like that when I went to Dubai. Like, I was awed just by the service. I was awed just by the culture, just the people, the food. It was an amazing experience. And if you haven't been to Dubai, I just think you need to go. You need to give yourself the opportunity to experience. It's nothing like I expected. There was a little bit of fear around the culture of Dubai, and because I'm a cusser, so it was like, I don't want to get arrested for cussing. It was nothing like I expected. It was really an amazing time, and all of the agents that went, they had an amazing time. And actually, a group of the agents have already arranged their next trip. And I think they released it tonight. So I'm super excited for them. And we will actually be doing another Dubai trip. So look out for that. We'll be doing that actually sooner than later. So just hold your horses for that. So if you are interested in Dubai, you're definitely going to want to go on this upcoming FAM trip that we've got in store for that. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure as always to meet with you. I will see you next week at the same BAT channel, talking all things launching and operating a successful and profitable travel business. You guys have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.